You're watching hashtag BKB, and joining me in the studio at the moment is Jonathan and
Hi.
Raymond, two of the prominent book industry players in the country. Welcome to the show. And our
Hello.
focus for our discussion today is to look into copyright sales, because I noticed that I understand both of you have been doing it for quite some. How long have you been in the industry, Jonathan?
27 years.
27 years.
Yeah.
All right, and yourself?
35 years.
35 years. So you don't look that old. I understand that you have penetrated even to the Eastern Europe in selling rights. When
Yeah, I'm just about to break in.
all right, just about to.
About to
So
break
this
in
is just the beginning. Yeah.
the beginning.
How promising is copyright sales when we talk about Malaysian content trying to selling it abroad? Raymond.
We have been trying to, Malaysian trying to sell Malaysian local products, trying to sell overseas. I think a lot of us have been trying very hard,
Right.
but I think the last 2 years I can see more prominent now.
Okay.
People are moving in
Okay.
and with success.
Reason being, is it because of policy, or suddenly you bump into an opportunity?
I think the industry here, like in this case, like Kota Buku. Before Kota Buku, you have MBKM.
Yeah.
But in the earlier years, there's no government agency to bring us around. Semua diam saja.
Okay.
So, but now, this GLC promote, the government helps to promote. So I think everybody are aware of it.
Jonathan, yourself, when it comes to copyright sales, you have been doing it for more than 20 years. So in the span of that 20 years or so, how do you find things? We like to do some kind of health check so that we better understand this industry.
Well, I think there are more interactions now, buying and selling in Malaysia, compared to 10 years ago. I mean, things have certainly improved. Well, when you talk about copyright, it's just not about selling the rights of the book. We are talking about co-editions as well,
Right.
and selling finished copies.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you exhibit abroad,
Okay.
you don't just sell the rights, you're actually selling co-edition, as well as hoping for selling of your existing stocks,
Right.
probably English language, to another country. See, so yeah, things have it's been growing in Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is still another segment of business, and the interest in doing business is all about getting more and more revenue. You know? So, and right sales in the book industry is not common knowledge, even among existing players. Most of them, they are still comfortable in selling physical books instead of selling rights. Let's talk about the revenue first, Jonathan. How big can it be when you're talking about Malaysian contents?
Well, I don't really represent Malaysian publishers right now. I represent foreign publishers, about more than 10 different publishers. I sell to Southeast Asian countries. So most of the content are education-based, learning of language, for example, English, science, general knowledge, children's reference like encyclopedias.
Okay.
Those are one-volume encyclopedias and so on.
And the size of the market is growing.
It's actually growing. It's actually growing. So
What are the factors that contribute to the growth of this segment of the market?
I suppose people are getting young parents are more into this awareness, buying good books for the kids. So as well as learning of English, the internet helps. You know, they need to boost the standard of English for the kids, so they buy more books now.
What about our local publisher? You are a local publisher. You represent the interests of our local content. Raymond.
I actually do local, right? And then I try to sell abroad. But I think over the years, is how do I put it? I think it's easier to sell to our own ASEAN countries,
Okay.
rather than we sell to.
But how big is the size of the market when it comes to rights sale? If you talk about Malaysian content per se.
I think the chunk will be very, if you go by percentage, it's very high.
Okay.
But actually, if you talk about physical dollar and cents, I think it's still small.
Even Malaysian publishers, are still learning the tricks of the trade, particularly because perhaps maybe we are not sure on how to sell our content when it comes to books. So the ratio between the sales of physical books as compared to the price or even the digital content is still, the difference is very far, very big. So, but throughout time, how do you see the regional market catching up? Raymond?
You see, last time when we were doing maths and science in English,
Okay.
when English was our language, it's easier for us to do.
Okay.
We print, we publish in English, we sell to our own local market, and then whatever extras we try to export out.
Okay.
But now, with BM again back as our main language, we have lost that competitive edge. So
What you're saying here is that the government policies implicated your.
no.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean, the change in the policy will affect. Jonathan, how about you as representing international
I
publisher?
think, okay, let's talk about local scene. I think if you're talking about export sales or copyright, I'll just lump it together, right? It depends on the publisher and what kind of products you have, really. What kind of publications you have. Is it suitable for export? Or is it suitable to be sold internationally? Either as export copies or copyright. You need to identify first, well, in my previous company, I worked as an export manager, so and also copyright sales. The turnover a year is like a few million ringgit. So with my previous company, so it's a mixture of rights as well as
Co-edition.
co-edition as well, and including export of finished copies.
Okay.
So it can be big. It depends on what kind of product you have, and are you geared towards doing export? If you're not, then you have to position your products to suit the international market, really.
Yeah, but Jonathan, you see, like the previous company that you work in is a listed company.
Okay.
They are big. See, in this case now, if we are talking about a small company, upcoming company, and if you're going to publish only a few titles a year, you will not be able to sell. If you just were to do our own local language here, now we do in BM, then if you want to sell overseas, just to translate itself is going to be one
So
cost.
English helps a lot if you were to sell your publication abroad.
Correct.
Yeah, if you publish in English, it will be easier to sell to, let's say, I'm not talking about Europe, UK, or US. Let's talk about Asian countries or ASEAN countries. If you publish in English, it will be easier to sell rights because if you sell to a Thai publisher, they will prefer, English out. It's easy for me to get translated to translate rather than BM or Chinese. For English, it will be easier for the Indonesian publisher to translate, but BM is fine. But sometimes it's just a matter of ideas, whether they accept it or not.
Okay.
So it'll be good if you can publish in English or prepare, if you publish the work in Bahasa Malaysia, for example, you can prepare maybe a short write-up in English when you go overseas. So you show it to them, okay, this is a synopsis, or this is maybe a first chapter of the story. So it'll be easier to market that way.
I'm going to ask the same question to Raymond, but I would like to ask you first, Jonathan. From an international publisher point of view, what value can you see from local content, local publication, when it comes to penetrating the international market?
Value.
What are our value proposition? Because
It
we're
has to
competing
be-
at international.
Well, it has to be education. Children books is always about education.
Okay.
General
Titles will never, when it comes to Malaysian content, trade
It's a bit
titles.
restrictive, I would say. I'm not saying it's impossible, it's restrictive, but if you talk about general content, it should be education related, or
We don't have
education activity books or something. So
You don't see that Malaysia has any niche area whereby we can actually appeal to the international market as far as publication is concerned? Not as yet, yeah. But we aspire to be a developed nation by 2020. That's the thing. We are not offering any ideas or any knowledge to the world. Are we not?
I think we probably have a lot of stuff that is suitable for international market, but we need to package it
Right.
for the international market.
Right. So our local publisher, they have yet to identify this area, and they don't have the capability to package it as such.
Yeah, they have to look if they're really serious into doing international sales. I think they seriously have to look into packaging,
Okay.
designing the product,
Okay.
the work for the international market.
Do you agree with that scope, Raymond?
I think some of our local publishers are already doing it. Maybe they do it on the quiet side.
Okay. Can you name a few?
Can I name a few?
Yeah. Some instances where we can share.
Okay. Recently, somebody signed a deal with Alanga,
Okay.
Indonesia. Right? They export their content to Indonesian market. That is already international. I think the signing fee itself is about 300,000 USD. I think that is very good. I also understand that even from those days, back in the 70s, we used to have local adaptation. That means our books, maths and science,
Yeah.
we sell to even ASEAN, we sell to Vietnam or Myanmar. Local adaptation, we do into their syllabus. I think it's already doing that.
Right.
So, are you considering this international copyright or what? Co-publication?
Yeah.
I think we're already doing it, just that we have not really identified it and then do it in the big way. And then when you say, most of us, when we say international, we will always be thinking about selling to the West. Whereas for many years, Malaysia used to be the hub,
Yeah.
where UK publishers will come to Malaysia first. Then from Malaysia, we go outside to ASEAN
When you
countries.
said used to be, no more nowadays?
I think Singapore has been trying very hard to take over.
They have taken over our role.
They have not taken over, but they are trying to.
Okay.
Because those days, most of the bigger publishers, the international publishers, they are all based in Singapore now. So that
Yeah. Jonathan, over here at Kota Buku, we try to make sense of things happening in our local book industry. Is it fair for me to say that the local players, they are more comfortable, or they generate much bigger in terms of physical books rather than rights sales?
Okay, you have to look at what the publishers are doing. If they are targeting local market only,
Okay.
obviously the focus is on the local market.
Yeah.
So for
And the
foreign-
size is very.
yeah,
it's
it's
just
limited.
small.
Because you talk about smaller print runs.
Yeah.
Your cost is higher. If you're doing international, obviously, but a lot of publishers still don't see that picture yet. If they do international, if you do a co-edition, you join a print run, instead of 3,000, perhaps maybe you do 10,000, another 3,000 for Indonesia, or 3,000 for Philippines. Obviously, your cost will go down further.
Right.
But because of that, focus is mainly on local market, so you are restricted in some ways, in terms of expansion.
How do you do it, Raymond? Physical books as compared to right sales. How do
of course the bigger margin will be if you can sell physical book,
Okay.
especially countries that speak English. Correct. Most of these books, if I were to sell, I try not to sell English books or English rights, because after that they will be cross border. But then most of these countries, they want their own language.
Right.
Correct. So when they want their own language, then you will have to give them the rights.
Okay.
And of course, when it comes to rights, we initially the first print run,
Right.
we talk about the first print run. The second print run, we don't even know whether do they they report correctly or not. So that is some of the
So there are still transparency issues, yeah.
a little bit of setbacks.
Professionalism, I would say. Professionalism on both ends.